Welcome to the Planet Purl video tutorial for making baubles. Supplies for this tutorial: yarn and a pair of straight needles. I've knitted up a little swatch here of stockinette. You can see reverse stockinette on the other side, just to get us started for where we're going to make a bauble. Now, baubles add beautiful texture and a lot of interest, especially if you're just working in flat knitting. So first we're going to work in our pattern. In this case, the bauble will be on a bed of stockinette, and we're going to work to the spot where our instructions would say make bauble, or MB. All right, so now this is where we're going to start to make our bauble. Now to make the bauble, we're going to turn this one stitch into 5 stitches. So because we're going to be knitting into the front and back and front and back and front on this, give it a little stretch to give yourself some room. This works much better on stretchy wool than it does on cotton. So we go knit into the front and knit into the back, which we have a video on how to do that, and then knit into the front again, and then knit into the back again. And it's going to be getting tight now, but you're going to knit into the front one more time. So you've now turned that one stitch into 5 stitches. Go ahead and slide off the stitch on the left-hand needle. And you can see we've turned that one stitch into 5 relatively tight stitches. Now we're just going to work on these 5 stitches to create the bauble. So we're going to turn the work around and we're going to purl back just those 5 stitches. Now the stitches are going to feel tight and a little close together, so be careful when you're pulling off the stitch not to pull off more than one. And here's the 5th stitch. Now we're still just working in those 5 stitches. We turn the work around, and now we're going to knit back those 5 stitches. Two more. Now we have to get rid of those 4 extra stitches to return to our normal stitch count, and it will shape the top of the bauble. Now this part you might have to reach in there and manhandle a little bit in order to get the stitches picked up. So just as if we were binding off, we're going to pick up the 2nd stitch from the tip, whether it wants to go or not, and bind it off over the other stitch. And we're going to do that for 4 stitches to get us back to our original stitch count. And sometimes you just have to force it. This is much harder on a cotton or a non-stretchy yarn. As you can see, the more give the yarn has, the easier it's going to be to work the bauble. All right, so now 4 extra stitches are gone, and you can see the shaping of the bauble. Now I'm going to knit to the end and put in another bauble, and you'll catch up in a second. All right, so here's what it looks like with 2 baubles on a bed of stockinette stitch. You can see the really interesting texture that putting a bauble into a piece of knitting can do. Not so pretty from the other side. You see these little pokey holes. And the only thing you need to be careful of is when you're blocking this, after you finish knitting, is to be really careful not to flatten out or squish the baubles. This is a project that I did. It's some blocks for a blanket. They're from one of Debbie Abraham's Afghan books. And these baubles are done on a background of stockinette stitch. The baubles add some really nice texture. Uh-oh, Paris thinks baubles are something to eat. Sorry, Paris. Come visit us at planetpurl.com.